The call came through at exactly 6:14 a.m. on a brisk Tuesday morning. I was already awake, perched on the weathered railing of my cabin porch just outside Durango, Colorado, watching the golden sun struggle to climb over the San Juan Mountains. I had been an early riser ever since the divorce shattered my routine. Sleep didn't come easily anymore, so I had simply stopped fighting the insomnia. My phone buzzed against the wood, unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. "Mr. Bennett, this is Dr. Elena Vance at Children's Hospital Colorado in Aurora. I'm calling regarding your son, Kaden." I sat up so fast my coffee spilled. My son, a word I hadn't heard directed at me with any authority in 3 years. What happened? Is he okay? "Kaden has been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia," Dr. Vance said, her voice professional but soft. "He requires a bone marrow transplant urgently. His mother provided us with your contact information as a potential donor." My ex-wife Mara gave them my number. Mara, who had spent 3 years telling our twin boys that I had abandoned them. Mara, who had blocked my number, returned every letter I sent unopened, and told me the twins were ashamed to call me their father. Mara, who had texted me after the divorce was final to say I would never see them again. And now, suddenly, she needed my help. "I'll be there in 6 hours, I said, my voice trembling. "My name is Thatcher Bennett. I am 41 years old. I work as a wilderness guide in southwestern Colorado, leading hiking and camping trips for tourists who want to experience the true Rockies. Before that, I was a high school history teacher in Denver, making a decent salary, living a normal life with a wife and twin sons. That life evaporated 3 years ago when Mara decided I wasn't enough. The drive from Durango to Aurora usually takes nearly 7 hours. I made it in 5.5. I pushed my old Jeep to its limit, the engine roaring as I rattled over mountain passes and descended into the flatlands east of the Rockies. I didn't stop for food. I didn't stop for gas until the light screamed at me near Poncha Springs. All I could think about were my boys, Kaden and Mason. They were 11 years old now. The last time I saw them in person, they were 8, standing in the driveway of the house I used to own, watching me load boxes into a rental truck. "Daddy, why are you leaving?" Mason had asked, clutching his favorite stuffed bear. "I'm not leaving you, buddy," I had choked out. "I'm just moving to a different house. I'll see you every weekend, I promise." I never saw them again. Mara made sure of that with restraining orders and lies. The hospital was a city unto itself, a sprawling complex of glass and steel connected by walkways, filled with sick children and terrified parents. I found the oncology ward on the 4th floor. "Mr. Bennett, Dr. Vance is expecting you, but first, there is someone who wants to speak with you." The nurse gestured toward the waiting area. Mara was sitting in a rigid plastic chair, clutching a paper cup of coffee like it was a lifeline. She looked older than I remembered, gaunt and pale. The arrogance that had defined her during the divorce proceedings was gone, replaced by something hollow and desperate. She saw me and stood up. "Thatcher. Mara." We stared at each other across 3 years of silence and pain. "Thank you for coming," she finally whispered. "I know I don't deserve it." "Where is Kaden?" I cut her off. She flinched at my cold tone. "Room 412, he's sleeping, the chemo is. It's really hard on him." "And Mason?" "With my mother. He wanted to come, but I thought," she trailed off, looking at the floor. "I thought it would be easier if he wasn't here for the testing." "Easier for who? You?" I wanted to scream it, but I didn't have the energy for that fight. Not with Kaden sick. "Where do I go for the bone marrow test?" "The lab is on the 2nd floor. Dr. Vance said she would meet you there." Mara reached out like she wanted to touch my arm, then pulled back. "Thatcher, I know things ended badly between us, but Kaden needs this. He needs you. He's needed me to let you be there for 3 years, and I wouldn't let him have you." I walked away before the anger could take over. The bone marrow compatibility test took about an hour. They drew vials of blood, swabbed my cheek, and ran me through an exhaustive medical history questionnaire. Dr. Vance was a small woman with kind eyes and an incredibly efficient manner. She treated me like a worried father, not just a donor. "We should have preliminary results within a few hours," she said. "If you're compatible, we'll discuss the harvest. It requires a short hospital stay." "Whatever he needs," I said. "Cut me open, take whatever you need. Just tell me if I can save my son." I waited for 3 hours. I couldn't eat. I couldn't read. I just sat and thought about Kaden, about Mason, about all the soccer games and birthdays I had said. I remembered the way they used to smell like grass and dirt after playing outside, and how Kaden had a specific laugh that sounded like a hiccup. When Dr. Vance finally returned, her face was different. The kindness was replaced by confusion. "Mr. Bennett, could you come with me, please?" She led me to a small conference room. Inside were 2 other people, a man in a suit and a woman in a white coat. "Mr. Bennett, this is Dr. Marcus Olyinka, our head of hematology, and Dr. Sarah Lynn, our chief of genetics." Genetics? My heart began to hammer against my ribs. "Mr. Bennett," Dr. Vance began slowly, "we ran your compatibility test 3 times. We checked for lab errors, contamination, anything that might explain what we found." "What do you mean? Am I not a match?" The 3 doctors exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Mr. Bennett," Dr. Olyinka said heavily, "the test results show that you are not biologically related to Kaden." The words floated in the air, refusing to land. "That's impossible. He's my son. He and Mason are twins. I was there when they were born. I cut the cords." "We understand this is difficult to hear, but genetics do not lie." Dr. Lynn leaned forward. "We ran a full panel. There is no paternal DNA match between you and Kaden, and based on the genetic markers, we believe there would be no match with Mason either." "What are you saying? That neither of them is mine?" "That is exactly what we are saying, Mr. Bennett. Neither twin shares your DNA. You cannot be their biological father." The room tilted. I grabbed the edge of the mahogany table to keep from falling out of my chair. My entire reality fractured. 11 years. 11 years of loving those boys, of coaching their teams, of soothing their nightmares. 11 years of believing I was their dad, and none of it was real. "There is something else," Dr. Lynn said carefully. "Something that makes the situation medically unique." "Unique?" I choked out. "The genetic analysis revealed an anomaly. Kaden and Mason are twins, yes, but they are not identical as you were presumably told. They are fraternal." "Okay, so?" "Fraternal twins can have different fathers. It is incredibly rare, but it happens. It is called heteropaternal superfecundation." I stared at her, my mouth dry. "Different fathers? You're saying my twins have different fathers?" "We are saying Kaden and Mason have different biological fathers, neither of whom is you." Dr. Lynn paused, her voice sympathetic. "Mr. Bennett, your ex-wife was apparently involved with at least 2 other men during the window of conception. 2 different men. Neither was you." 2 other men, not one affair. 2. Mara hadn't just cheated on me. She had lived a completely separate life, gotten pregnant by 2 different strangers, and let me believe for a decade that I was the father. I stood up, then sat back down as my legs gave way. "I need a minute." "Take all the time you need," Dr. Vance said softly. "We'll be outside." They left me alone in the silence of that conference room. I sat there for a long time, staring at the sterile white walls, trying to understand how my life had been erased in 10 minutes. I thought back to our wedding. The way she looked in white. The way she swore fidelity. It was all a performance. I eventually found Mara in the hospital cafeteria. She was pushing a salad around her plate. She looked up, and the devastation on my face must have given it away. "Thatcher did the test." "You lied to me." Her fork clattered onto the table. "What?" 11 years, Mara. You lied to me for 11 years. I sat down, my voice dangerously low. The boys aren't mine, neither of them. Mara's face cycled through confusion, fear, and finally, a terrifying realization. That's not possible. There must be a mistake. No mistake. They also told me something else. Kaden and Mason aren't identical. They're fraternal. And because of a rare condition, they have different fathers. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Different fathers, she whispered. Two different men who aren't me. Who are they, Mara? She looked away. I don't think this is the time. My son, the boy I thought was my son, is dying upstairs, and I can't save him because I'm not his father, so I think this is exactly the time. I leaned across the table. Who are the fathers? Mara closed her eyes, tears leaking out. It was a long time ago, before we were married. We were engaged. You were working so much. Stop with the excuses. Names. Brett Harrison and Jax Miller. Names I had never heard. Who are they? Brett was my personal trainer. Jax was a consultant at my firm. We had a thing during a business trip. She sobbed. I was young and confused. So you slept with two different men while we were engaged, got pregnant by both, and passed them off as mine. I didn't know. I swear, Thatcher, I thought they were yours. Find them, I said, standing up. Find Brett and Jax today. One of them might be able to save Kaden. Fletcher, wait, does this mean? Are you leaving? You're not going to help. I can't help. I'm not a match. Find the real fathers, Mara. I'll stay until you do, but after that we are done. I walked out to the stairwell and broke down. I sat on the cold concrete steps and wept like a child. Everything I had lost, everything I had mourned for 3 years. None of it had been mine to lose, but the cruelest twist was that the love remained. Even knowing the biology, I still loved Kaden and Mason. Biology didn't create that love. Reading bedtime stories did. Bandaging scraped knees did. Teaching them to fish in the creek behind our old house did. Finding the men took 3 days. Mara hired a private investigator, paid for by her wealthy parents who were suddenly very cooperative. I stayed at a cheap motel nearby, visiting Kaden whenever I could. He was so thin, hairless, and weak, but his eyes, those eyes I used to think looked like mine, were filled with trust. Dad, he whispered. He still called me Dad. Hey, buddy, I smoothed his blanket. I'm here. Mom said you aren't a match, he said, his voice raspy. No, I wasn't, but we're looking for someone who is. I missed you, Dad. I missed you too, Kaden, more than anything. Mason came to visit on the second day. He was bigger, looking so much like his mother. He stood in the doorway of the motel room, looking awkward. Hi, he said. Come in, Mason. Mom told me, he said abruptly, about the test, about everything. My heart stopped. What exactly did she tell you? That you aren't our biological dad, and that Kaden and I have different dads. He looked at his sneakers. Is it true? The doctors say it is. Mason looked up, tears in his eyes. Does that mean you don't want us anymore? Mom said after the divorce that you left because you didn't love us. Come here, I said, my voice cracking. I pulled him into a hug. He was stiff at first, then melted into me, sobbing. Mason, listen to me. Your mom lied about me leaving. I fought for you. And biology, it's just science. It doesn't change who raised you. It doesn't change that I am your dad. I will always be your dad. Brett Harrison was found in Phoenix. He was a fitness consultant. He flew in the next day, swaggering into the hospital. He admitted he always suspected. I didn't want to ruin your marriage, he told Mara. I laughed, a bitter sound. You didn't ruin it. You just helped her build it on a foundation of sand. Brett was tested. He was a match for Kaden. I'm going to save my son, Brett announced to the room, emphasizing my son. It took every ounce of my self-control not to punch him. He had been a father for 5 minutes. I had been a father for 11 years. Jax Miller, the other father, was found but refused to come. He wanted nothing to do with Mason. Mason took it hard, but he looked at me and said, "I don't need him. I've got a dad." The transplant happened a week later. It was successful. Kaden would live. Brett basked in the glory for a few days, took some photos, and then flew back to Phoenix. He hasn't called since. The custody battle that followed was different. I hired a relentless lawyer named Sofia Rodriguez. We had everything: the fraud, the alienation, the biological truth, and most importantly, the boy's testimony. Mara didn't fight. She was broken by the exposure of her lies. "I messed up," she told me during mediation. "Yes, you did. I want them to be happy. They want you." We settled on joint custody, but in reality, the boys spend most of their time with me. It has been 2 years now. Kaden is in remission, playing soccer again. Mason is into coding. They are teenagers now, full of attitude and angst, but they are here. They know about Brett, they know about Jax, but they call me Dad. I'm sitting at my desk in the cabin looking at a photo from when they were 6. We were fishing. I'm untangling a line for Kaden while Mason laughs. I used to look at this photo with sadness, thinking about what I lost. Now I look at it with gratitude. Biology is the least important part of being a father. Showing up is what matters. Staying when things get hard is what matters. I lost the title of biological father, but I kept the only title that counts: Dad. So here is my question for you. What makes a family? Is it blood? Or is it the person who stays up all night when you have a fever, the person who teaches you right from wrong, the person who never gives up on you? I spent years thinking I had lost my sons. It turns out they were waiting for me to come back the whole time. Tell me your story in the comments. What does family mean to you? If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want more true stories about real people facing impossible odds, subscribe to this channel. We post new stories every day. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a sin. Glee 1. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.